Get all right. So and soon you'll see that there's a goose behind me. So my short story is that I was raised here in South Jersey born and raised my whole life. And when I was in my early 30s, my family and I moved to Texas for about 13 years. And I didn't realize it. It took me a number of years to realize that I missed the sound of the geese heralding in the winter. I missed them. And I missed them saying that spring is coming. And when we moved back only 2 years ago, this March, next month, we'll be back 2 years. I was so excited anytime I've ever seen the geese. I'll tell you, I'm gonna rat on my older brother. This guy right here, this handsome one who's sitting in this row with Brian. He's my older brother. His name is Philip. And when we got a house in New Jersey, I got a job before I got a house. So I lived with my brother for a couple of weeks. And his neighbors have on their front yard 2 decorative lawn decorations of life-size geese. And I would go out and I'm like, hey, geese. I'm like, Phil, look how awesome those geese are. Oh, and it hurt my heart. And he says, I don't like those animals. They don't do anything good. They're a mess. And then I shared my love for geese with someone else, and they said the same thing, that nobody likes the geese. And I saw it from you, and I heard it from over here. Nobody likes these geese. Oh my goodness. So I'm a little worried now, because for the next 20 minutes, we're going to be talking about the Canada goose. But my mission is to introduce you to a neat, cool, amazing thing about them. I've got 4 simple lessons, and you are going to realize that these geese have it more together than we do. And next time you see geese, you're going to be like, all right, maybe I don't love you yet, but I'm not going to boo you like it sounds like we're doing here in this sanctuary. Okay, so, but before we do that, I'm just going to give you 4 short lessons. Just 4 short lessons. And I'm not going to break them down so much, because where I am in my walk, where you are in yours, your life right now today is different than yours. It's different than yours. I want you guys to understand and to listen to something that you can apply it to your life in your way. My Goliath is not your Goliath. So I'm not going to come up here and say, this is what you have to do. I'm going to want you to do a little bit of work on your side and figure out what it is that you can change in your life so that you can be more like these majestic geese that we're going to be talking about today. So before we get going, and we're going to be talking today about Canada geese. So tell me, what do you know about geese? The most basic, simple fact, a phrase perhaps that has to do with geese. I need to hear from you now. So shout it out. Let me know. Yes. Okay. All right. I will add one more layer. We're going to be respectful to the geese. This is going to be a safe goose area where we are going to be kind, and we're not going to eat them or hope to run over them or anything like that. Sir. Oh, oh boy. Uh-huh. No, beautiful. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm happy to hear that. Yes.
When I was told about geese, they remember people.
Oh. Oh, they're a little elephant-like. Well, elephant is my favorite animal. Geese isn't even the top 3 of my favorite animals, but I really, really love them. Yes, ma'am. They follow the leader. Yes, Melissa. Wawa. Yes, Canada geese is a Wawa, ma'am. They do mate for life. All right, now the most basic fact, kids, basic fact about a goose. When you see the geese in the air, what's the most basic fact? They fly in the V. You're not a kid. Let's asking the kids for the easy question. Oh, another one over here. Yes.
The Romans used to use the geese for protection because when strangers came in.
Oh, yeah. I hear that's kind of like a mule or a donkey does the same thing. Okay. Yes. They do.
And I think that I may know a baby. Do you know what the baby is called?
I do. Does anyone else know what the baby is called? A gosling. Yes, very good. Who said that over here? This side has got much more facts, much more people. But you guys are doing good. I like the geese crossing. Anything else? Oh, hey, this is a nice. We're in a nice. That's good for the ground. Yes, a gardener over here. It's good stuff. All right. So here are some basic facts about geese. Is they are called Canada geese. They're not called Canadian geese. Yeah, they take offense. They take offense. Yeah, they've got dual citizenship. They don't want to mess with any, they don't want to ruffle any feathers, so to speak, right? They are a North American bird. They're in almost all of Canada, and actually they're in 49 of the states. They don't come as far down south where we were in Texas because, you know, nothing really grows there and it's not enough to sustain them. They mate for life, as we had someone say over here. They have the same migratory path. So if they nest in the summer in Vermont, and then they go all the way down to, let's just say, South Carolina, that is their path every single year of their 15, 18-year lifespan. Yes. Yes, yes, we'll definitely get to that. Very good. So at least we're all familiar with the V and we can appreciate the V. Very nice. Wherever a female goose, oh, we didn't do any sayings. What are some sayings? Geese sayings, do we know? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And what does that mean? A goose is a female and the gander is the male. So if you can do it, I can do it. If it's good enough for you, then it's good enough for me. Men and women are equal. What about my goose is cooked? Or what about let me take a gander? That's a goose saying too. So what happened when the goose, the female, is hatched, that is where she will come back to lay her nest and lay her eggs, and she will go there for her entire life. She will go back to this same spot. So they have the same migratory route, and they also have the same nesting grounds for their entire life, which is pretty cool because, I mean, how many of us can stay in one house for our whole life? And there's lots of names for them. Altogether, we know that a group of geese is called a flock, but it's also called a gaggle. When it's on the ground, it's called a gaggle. And you can easily understand that because all you hear is, you know, like that. When they're in the sky, though, they have different names. They're not called a gaggle when they're in the sky. When they're in the sky, they're called a wedge. Makes sense, right? They're called a team. They're called a skein, and I like to craft with yarn. So I think of a ball of yarn with the ends hanging out, so it looks like a skein. And they're also called a team. I don't know if I said that, but when they are not in their V formation and they're just kind of like hooking up, trying to get together, and it kind of looks messy, they're called, and this is so cute, a plump. Isn't that cute? Oh, you like them more already. Look at you. I didn't even get to any of the good stuff. All right, here we go. So today we've got 4 quick little lessons. I'm going to give you the goose facts. Perhaps I might give you a Bible story in it, and hopefully you can apply it to your life. So lesson number 1, teamwork. The easiest one. I really don't need to talk too much about this because everybody knows teamwork makes the dream work. So yes, they are in this V. When you're down here, you can see a V, but if you were to, just out of fun, go fly next to one, a V of geese, you will find that the lead goose, let's just say he or she is here, the one behind is a little higher up, and the one behind is a little higher up. So the V, the wings of the V kind of go up like this, and that is because that first lead goose, when he flaps his wings, he creates an uplift or a thrust for the bird behind, which makes his job just a little bit easier. And then when those second birds flap, makes it a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. So if you can think where the older geese or the younger first-time flyer geese would be, it would be towards the back of the wings. And all this is together because everybody has a part to play in the team. In this V formation, another awesome thing is that Remember, they have the migratory path. Everyone in the V can look to see where they're going. Nobody's hiding behind somebody. Nobody's trusting the person in front. They can just see where they're going. So working together in this team formation, they can fly 71% farther than if it was just one or two going at it by themselves. They can go 40 miles per hour. They can go 1,500 miles in one day. That's from here, as the Canada Goose flies, all the way to Oklahoma City, or from London, England, all the way down to Sicily. That's far. That's what you can do for teamwork. So when you think about your family as a team or your church as a team, get everybody together, be on the same path. Try to work together as a team. Lesson number 2 is sharing the workload. Going back to the V formation, you got that lead goose, and he is working hard up there in the front. He's got the hardest job. And if you think about this with church, right? That lead goose, sorry, camera, cannot get too exhausted to where it is burnt out and has to leave the flock altogether. It, as a leader, has to know, this is all I can do right now in order to still maintain teamwork with the group. It's time for me to fall back. And that bird will fall back 3, 4, 7 birds back and recoup its energy. Now, when that lead bird falls back, the other birds aren't like, well, you better get behind me. No, they just let that bird in. When that lead bird goes in the back, he doesn't say, watch out over here. He lets the new lead bird take over and acts now as a supporting cast. Sharing this workload, sharing the leadership is so important in any situation. And I think about in the Bible, a story where somebody needed to give up some of his leadership roles. I think when Moses led the people out of Egypt. And I think when he made his way back to where he found his wife and he saw his father-in-law, this is what I think happened. Jethro comes up and says, hey, Moses, good to see you again. He looks awful. What happened to him? He left, he was so ready to go. He was a fresh 80 years old when he left. Now he looks like he's 120. And then, sorry, you can sit in the front. And so then Moses is like, cool, nice to see you too, Pops. I'll talk to you tomorrow, I'm busy. And then as Jethro goes over to see Moses the next day, Moses has a line of people outside his tent because Moses is taking care of every single duty. And the father-in-law at the end of the day, Bible says that Moses is taking care of business from morning till night. And so father-in-law comes and says, son, I've got some fatherly advice to give you. Take it or leave it, but let me tell you something. This is no good for anybody. You're going to wear yourself out. This is no good. You're not going to be good for the people. You're not going to be good for yourself. What you need to do is you need to make a tier, a step more or less, and people need to take their concerns here. And if it doesn't work there, then they could take them here, and then they can take them here. It's almost like our court system. And he was pretty much the Supreme Court. So Moses would only be taking care of the big deal things. And that's what he did, and that's what worked. So sharing the leadership roles is important. In any area of our life, we need to make sure we share the roles. Lesson 3. We are blessed to have a lovely little home in Lumberton that butts right up to a small farm. So our backyard is very much open sky. And if I'm out there weeding or hanging out with the dogs, I can hear honking. And I can look up and figure out where they're coming from. And then I will watch them, because they're so majestic, I will watch them fly and honk to each other. And sometimes when it's really quiet and there's only like 5 or 6, they don't honk. And you hear, it's pretty neat. See, I really like the geese. So I want to know what's up with all this honking. I mean, why are they, they're called a gaggle because all they do is honk, honk, honk. So what is all this? This communication. That lead goose in the front, think about him or her. Think about her for a minute. She is up there flying. She's got a goal. She's got one mission. She's like, I'm leading my team and we are going to get there safely and we're going to get there together. And I have to keep an eye on the creeks and the rivers and the highways and whatever markers it is that they use. How does that lead goose know what's going on 15 geese back? How does it know that old Hank in the back, this might be his last journey, but he needs the flock to slow down? So guess what? Slow down, Hank's falling back, slow down, slow down. Now the leader hears, I gotta slow down because one is faltering. That leader does not get bent out of shape. He doesn't get his feathers in a ruffle. He just slows down. Isn't that amazing? And then after a while, you hear, hey, everything's good. And the youngins are doing good too. And it goes up to the leader. And he's like, okay, I can pick up the pace. And every once in a while, a word will come in, a quack will come in saying, you're doing great. This is a perfect pace. Hey, don't we want to hear we're doing great? Everything's going perfect. It'll say, doing great, keep up the pace, we're doing good. And that lead goose will be able to listen to his people because he's a good leader. And that's teamwork. And sometimes if the flock is coming over our backyard, this will be the quack coming forward. Don't land here, dangerous, because I have a dog who will perimeter the yard and keep it safe. And he doesn't want anyone in his sky yard either. And he will bark at them until they're out. And he gets them out every time. But it could be danger, danger, don't land here. Communication is key. Now, also, I should have given this disclaimer. Don't think that I'm the best leader or best teammate or best communicator. You know, we all have a different upbringing and we all have baggage. I don't know if there's a person in here who has parents who gave them a great role model on how to communicate. But I also know most of us in here are adults and we make our decisions too. So it's hard to communicate. It's very hard to communicate because I don't think any of us want to hurt another person when we talk. So we have to remember as Christians, just as human beings, to be careful with how we speak, to be careful with our words, to be kind, to be gracious, to be gentle with our words. And I have a Bible story that makes me think about being careful with words. And it's about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And it's not, when you hear Daniel, what do you think about? Lions. When you hear Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who do you think about? Or what do you think about? The furnace furnace, yeah. Well, there's tons. In those first 6 chapters of Daniel, there's amazing miracles in there. And this is one of the little ones. King Nebuchadnezzar was having trouble sleeping. Remember, he had these crazy dreams and he didn't know what the dreams were. He didn't remember his dreams. So he called in his wise men magicians. You guys will all be wise men magicians. Not you. You've already been used. No more abuse up here. All the wise men magicians, come tell me what my dream was and tell me what it means because it's bothering me. And you guys are all like, we can't do that. Who do you think we are? I mean, we're good at our job, but we can't do it. And he says, I need you to tell me what it is. I'm getting mad. And then the people say, no one can do that, only the gods, and they don't live on earth. And he's so mad. And he starts thinking, you guys are conspiring against me. You guys are whipping up some kind of plan. You're stalling for time. I don't want to hear it. And then he calls the captain of a guard and says, I need all of the wise men killed. Done with them. That's how drastic this was. Now, meanwhile, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel are over here. In my head, they're over here in an office. Brian's scooting over. He's like, I want to be this group. Meanwhile, the commander of the guard comes over to collect all the others, because this isn't all the wise men we have in the realm. We've got some more. We didn't bring all of them in. That's a little overdone. So then the lead military guy comes over and says, hey, come on, we're going to go to the execution grounds because, you know, I've just been told that I have to kill you. And Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are like, what on the world is going on? I don't know anything about this. And so Daniel, the Bible says, speaks to that commander with wisdom and tact. Wisdom and tact, he's able to talk to that commander to say, you know what? I need to go talk to the king. Now that's crazy, right? I, as a wise man, need to go talk to a king who wants me dead. But yet the commander, because he had wisdom and tact, said, sure, you can come to the king. Phil, you're going to be the king. Comes to the king. Now remember, the king's last straw with the wise man was that they wanted some more time. And he thought, you must be up to no good, because I think you're trying to pull a fast one on me. And so Daniel goes to the king, and guess what he asks for? Time. But because he does it with wisdom and tact, the king's like, sure, guy, whatever you need, I'll give you a day. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's not the lions or a fiery furnace, but that's still something big. And then, of course, the next day, Daniel was able to interpret the dream. Go ahead and read that in Daniel chapter 2 more. But speaking with wisdom and tact, we have to honk. We have to talk to our leaders. We have to talk to our teammates. We have to talk to our family, our coworkers, our church friends. We have to talk. Please use wisdom and tact when you talk. The Bible says that a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Harsh words. Don't be harsh, be gentle. Yes. All right, last one. This is my favorite. This one is really going to get you, I think. If you has anyone gotten a little bit, are you kind of like on a different path with the geese? A little bit? Oh, goodness. All right, lesson 4 is stand by me. You ever go by a field and you're like, must be 80 geese over there. That's kind of neat. And then maybe you pass another field and you're like, I think there's like 400 geese over there, right? Or in parking lots where you might see like a dozen or so. How many times have you seen where there's been 3? It's not as popular, not as normal, but sometimes there's only 3. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why there's sometimes only 3. All right, we're flying back in the V again, people. We're up here in our V, we're flying, we're on our mission. We got a good pace. We're doing 40 miles per hour. We're going. And just like it happens in life, sometimes somebody gets sick or injured. And somebody has to like emergency room drop out. Now imagine a long V and there's no time to communicate up to the leader to stay stopped. And even if there was, there might not be a spot available for this big flock. So sometimes a bird gets injured and it goes down. And when that happens, its mate will automatically go with it, but sometimes 1 or 2 others will automatically go down and out of the V as well. There's no discussion. I did it last spring. I'm out. Your turn? Well, I did it 2 years ago. Me? Oh, all right, fine. There's nothing like that. They just automatically go down with the injured bird, and they will stay with that injured bird to protect it, to make sure that it gets food and it gets protection and it has community, and they are there to support that bird until one of 2 things happens. It gets better, and they can go ahead and find the rest of finish the rest of their migratory route together, or it dies. So they are there until that animal gets better or dies. They were in it for the long haul. They are there to protect and to serve. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to say that, but they're there to protect that goose until it doesn't need protection anymore. Now I want you to think about your small groups. Perhaps it's a group of friends from high school. Perhaps it's family. Perhaps it's Sabbath school or a Bible study, or perhaps it's just regular church. Do you have in your head a picture of somebody who used to belong to your group, but who hasn't been here for a while? And if an image or a name pops into your head, I want you today to reach out to that person. I want you to be that goose that goes out and tries to support and say, how can I help? What do you need? What can I do for you? To that person. Because these geese have it all together. I mean, you see them in the sky all the time. They are all over the place because they have good teamwork. They have good leadership skills where they rotate their leadership. They have great communication, and they really can care for and support one another. So do you think we could be like them in a little way? I think we can. I think it's easy. I don't think it's hard. So next time when you see a goose or a gaggle or a V, I want you to think how incredible those animals are. I don't want you to think how dirty they are, how noisy they are. Oh, they wake me up every morning. I just want you to understand and appreciate the beauty of the creation of the goose. And I think that's it. Oh, here's a good one. Support. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, his friend can help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. Though 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And this is the lesson 4 of Stand By Me. So let geese have it together, and let's aim to be geese worthy in our actions and words and deeds. And that concludes the sermon. Thank you for your ears and your participation. We are going to have a closing song that is different from the one in your